this is Katie, and I am back with my second video log. I really appreciate all the feedback that I got on my first one. It was really exciting to see all the comments and hear from you guys of what you want to see and your ideas. So I think this will be really fun to be able to make some videos and talk about my training and nutrition and some different aspects to what I do in both powerlifting and figure. So I think I'm really excited about this. So thanks guys for all your feedback and ideas. I wanted to jump into making another video log because I kind of had a lot of things on my mind, and probably the number one question that I got asked was about my training program. I'm planning on in the future talking about my nutrition a little bit, because that's probably the second most frequently asked question was about my reverse diet. So that'll be a future video topic. But today I'm going to talk about my training program as a hybrid athlete. So I compete in both powerlifting and figure. So a lot of questions that I had that I received were surrounding what I do to focus both on powerlifting and figure at the same time, and kind of what my training schedule looks like, and what I do to both excel in powerlifting, but then also make sure that I'm getting in the work for figure that I need. So the program that I follow for powerlifting is called a daily undulating periodization powerlifting program, and also known as DUP. You might see that hashtagged on some of my videos, DUP, and so that's what it stands for. I started following this in July of last year after meeting Dr. Mike Zordos, who has done a lot of research on the topic. So if you're interested in training and more on powerlifting and the research and the science behind DUP, I would definitely recommend looking up Dr. Mike Zordos and his research on this topic. It's very fascinating, very interesting. There's pretty much infinite ways that you can put together a DUP program, but I'll talk a little bit about kind of what my program looks like currently. So currently I am coming off my powerlifting meet, which is approximately 5 weeks ago. So I have blocks that I follow in my powerlifting program. So they're typically about 4 weeks long, and it really depends where I'm in terms of my schedule for competing and what my rep ranges look like. But in a daily undulating periodization program, the rep ranges undulate. So I squat, bench, and deadlift 3 times per week. But those 3 times per week, each time that I squat, let's say, it's going to be a different rep range. So right now I have my low rep ranges, medium, and high. And my highest rep ranges are going to be the lightest weight, and my lowest are going to be my heaviest weight. So right now I have rep ranges, my lower rep ranges are 4 to 6 reps, medium are 5 to 7, and then my maximum is about 10. So I'm coming off my powerlifting meet, which was about 5 weeks ago, and I am more focused on volume, whereas going into a powerlifting meet, I was more focused on intensity. So my heaviest days might have been closer to a 2 rep range, because as you get closer to a powerlifting meet, you really want to be focusing on the intensity, because that's what you're going to be performing at your max at your powerlifting meet. So you want to make sure that you're working at those lower rep ranges. For instance, for squats going up into my meet, I was doing sets of 2 at 315. That was my heaviest day. But now, my heaviest day, in my last block following my powerlifting meet, I was at reps of 5. That was at 285. That was my heaviest day. So it really varies on where you are in terms of your competition schedule, in terms of where your rep ranges are going to be. So right now I'm focusing on volume for powerlifting. So for each block I progressively increase volume. So increasing volume can come from reps increasing, it can come from the amount of weight you're lifting increasing, it can come from the amount of sets you're doing increasing. Typically my reps stay pretty steady over my movements, so it's not like I'm increasing my reps for my heavy days necessarily. It's more increasing the weight or the number of sets that I'm doing. So I squat, bench, and deadlift 3 times per week following that protocol. And then, so that is my number one. That is how I kind of start out my training program. Then I add in accessory work accordingly. So for figure, I'd say that the 2 areas that I really focus on are shoulders and back. So, of course, squatting and deadlifting, that is I get all the volume I need for my legs. Since I'm doing that 3 times per week, I really don't add in accessory work other than blood flow restriction, leg curls, and occasionally some leg curls on the machine or glute ham raises. Just to get the higher reps. I do maybe 15 reps on leg curl, sets of 15 reps. I found that helps with injury preventions. I tend to have a few tweaks in my hamstrings here and there, so I really find that BFR, blood flow restriction, leg curls helps with that, helps prevent injury. And then I also add in calf work. But really I noticed that the change in my legs, and my legs turn a corner when I started powerlifting and incorporating squats and deadlifts 3 times per week for sure. So I don't really add in any accessory work for legs, but for accessory work for figure, it's important for me as an athlete to prioritize what I really need to focus on. So first I have my powerlifting program, and then I think about how am I going to add in accessory work that's going to benefit me for figure, for the stage, but not hinder my powerlifting program. So I add in back. Right now I'm doing 3 back accessory days per week, and then I add in shoulder and some arm accessory work as well. I don't do any chest accessory work because I'm benching 3 times a week. I don't need to. For figure purposes, I don't need to add in more chest development. That's not something that's focused on in figure. But back, shoulders, you really can never have a big enough back. You can never have big enough shoulders for figure. So for back especially, I also undulate the reps. So for 1 day per week, I have a heavier back day. And then 1 day I have a lighter back day. And the heavier back day is more emphasis on the strength portion because I'm trying to increase my strength in my back as well. And then the higher rep day is going to be more hypertrophy focused for back development. So typically on an accessory day, I'll add in 4 exercises for back, 3 to 4 for shoulders, and 2 to 3 for biceps and triceps. And what I have focused on too in my program as I transitioned from more of a bodybuilding focus before I was powerlifting to kind of this hybrid is adding in more volume and looking at it as a whole as opposed to each workout. So I really think about my week as a whole and how, not necessarily just a week, but my training program as a whole, and how am I going to get the most bang for my buck. So it doesn't really make sense for me to go in and kill my back and be super sore the next day, and then not be able to deadlift as effectively or as well as I had hoped the next day, if, let's say I'm squatting and deadlifting the next day. So I really have to think about how am I going to get the volume in, but how am I also going to be able to perform as well as I want to for my powerlifting days, or when I'm squatting and deadlifting, let's say. So for instance, today I'm actually I'm about to go work out. I was just looking at the clock. I'm about to go work out. I am doing bench and shoulder press and some accessory work. And tomorrow I'm squatting and deadlifting. So I think about, well, I'm not going to do my heavy back day today because I notice that when I do heavy back days, it affects my deadlifts. So I'm going to choose to do my more hypertrophy focused back day so I can squat and deadlift to, I can really feel like I'm getting the most out of my squat and deadlift day tomorrow, if that makes sense. So I really have to think about it as a whole. So I might do my my heavier back day earlier in the week when my squats and deadlifts are lighter. So really my focus, I would say, first is my powerlifting program, and then fitting in the hypertrophy work that I need for figure kind of around that. And it's really a work in progress. It's like it always ebbs and flows. I'm constantly tweaking my program, what works best. For instance, right now I have a shoulder injury. So for shoulder, I've been adding in a lot more higher rep ranges, BFR training, blood flow restriction. So if you're interested in that, definitely look that up. That's something huge that I've incorporated into my training with great benefits. Look up blood flow restriction, and Dr. Jeremy Leneke, he does all the research on that. That's how I learned about blood flow restriction, was from my coach Lane and Jeremy Leneke. So definitely that has been a huge part of my shoulder training because I'm dealing with a little bit of an injury. So I'm constantly tweaking my training just to make sure that I'm getting in the volume that I need to focus on my weak areas for figure, but at the same time not hinder my powerlifting program. Now, as I come up on my figure competition here in a couple weeks, I would say that my focus is more on the accessory work, and so I'm really that's where my head is, as opposed to when I was leading up to my powerlifting meet, I left out a little bit more of my accessory work because I wanted to be able to give 100% to my powerlifting training and really focus on that leading up to my meet, and not be hindered on my squats or deadlifts from doing a back day the night before, or doing something that maybe would make me feel a little bit weaker for my powerlifting training leading up to my meet. But now, since I'm more focused on my competition here in a couple weeks, I've been more focused in on my hypertrophy work, my accessory work, bringing up my weak areas, even though I can't make significant changes in a couple weeks, but really focusing on getting my volume in that aspect. So it ebbs and flows with where I am in competition season. So that's a little bit more background on kind of my training philosophy and what I do and how I add in accessory work around my powerlifting program. But it's constantly a work in progress. A training program should never be rigid, and you should never not be able to change it. It should be flexible, especially with injuries as they come and go, with your training focus, because I'm closer to my figure show as opposed to powerlifting meet. So it's shifted a little bit. So I'm constantly shifting, constantly making changes to my training, but always keeping both in mind, which keeps things interesting. So I hope this gives a little bit more background on my training philosophy and kind of what I'm doing currently. So I'm hoping that the next video I can do will be maybe on diet or nutrition, because that was a frequently asked question that I got too. So I got my coffee and I'm off to train now. So hopefully this was helpful for some of you guys. So talk to you guys soon. Thanks.